Vande Gurasi Charanarvindam Chaturvidhasi Bhagavat Prasada Sadvana Chitan Harivakta Sanghan Chaturvidhasi Bhagavat Prasada Sadvana Chitan Harivakta Sanghan Daiva Triting Bhajata Sadaiva Daiva Triting Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Gurasi Charanarvindam Vande Gurasi Charanarvindam Vande Gurasi Charanarvindam Shri Radhika Madhavaya Para Madhur Jalila Gunarupa Namnam Shri Radhika Madhavaya Para Madhur Jalila Gunarupa Namnam Pratikshana Swadana Lalupasam Pratikshana Swadana Lalupasha Vande Gurasi Charanarvindam Vande Gurasi Charanarvindam Vande Gurasi Charanarvindam Samsarada Bhanananda Loka Pranaya Karuna Ghanaghanatyam Prapta Sakalnan Gunanavasa Vande Gurasi Charanarvindam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And welcome everyone to the Sunday morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading and discussion. And we're using the original Delhi Bhagavatams that Śrīla Prabhupāda first brought to America in his trunk. And I was speaking to a friend of mine, a former member of the Hamilton Hare Krishna Center, Ācārya she's now residing in Dallas, Texas. And she joined the movement along with us back in 1971. And she recalled to me that she had multiple sets of these Bhagavatams when she was with us. And she also said that these were the only books that we had for study. It's true. We had a blue Macmillan Bhagavad Gita, which was very valuable. And it's interesting to note that even with one edition of the Bhagavad Gita, you can get sufficient information from that one book to deliver yourself from the material world. Just one book. It's interesting to note that I have an older vehicle. It's a good vehicle. I always appreciate the vehicle because it works. It doesn't cost me a lot of money. But at the same time, the CD player wasn't working all the time, Michael. So I finally got it to work again. And for the last year, I've left the same CD in the machine. Same one. It's 2 lectures of Śrīla Prabhupāda. I don't want to take a chance. It's not working. I don't like to be in the car and just be spaced out, let's say. But I find that even these 2 lectures, even though I've heard them over and over again, they're always fresh. They're always dynamically informative on the philosophy of Krishna consciousness because of Prabhupada's depth as a pure devotee in explaining this philosophy to all of us. It's amazing. So the potency of the transcendental sound vibration of the pure devotee is something very unique in this world, very unique. And the opportunity to hear the spiritual master, the bona fide spiritual master in his Vani incarnation, is a great opportunity for all of us. And even just one sloka will be enough to liberate us out of this material world, if we just listen and accept it and follow the principle. That's the problem. Most people do not follow the principles of Krishna consciousness that Śrīla Prabhupada is teaching us. Like, for example, the chanting of 16 rounds. Now, this is a basic principle of bhakti yoga, is to chant the holy name. And Lord Chaitanya advocated it as a means to get out of the material world. But yet, I have a friend in Cambodia. And I've known him since 1972, actually, or 73, when we introduced him to the philosophy. And recently I suggested to him, hey, maybe you should start chanting your rounds. And he started chanting his rounds. And then gradually, he disappeared out of my association. And then all of a sudden, he appeared again 2 weeks ago. Appear, disappear, appear, disappear. Some people are like that, eh? The disappearing act. But at any rate, he came back into our circle. He's listening to the classes again, which is good for him, and we appreciate that. And I asked him, are you chanting your rounds? Well, I stopped chanting my rounds. I said, what was the reason? Oh, I had so many problems and so many difficulties and so many situations that came up in my life. I just didn't have time to chant. Oh, I see. Well, I suggested to him, Vijaya Pandit, maybe you should try to practice bhakti yoga according to Prabhupada's instructions and chant your 16 rounds. And he started chanting again. He talked to me the other day on the phone. He says, I'm feeling much better again since I started chanting. So you can drop the chanting or you can pick it up. It depends on your mentality. But guaranteed that if one takes to the process of chanting Hare Krishna every day, according to the instructions of Śrīla Prabhupāda, even if your rounds aren't that good, it's the mind is a very fickle resting place. It's like Krishna describes it, the mind is like a candle in the wind. It flickers everywhere in this way. But if you make an effort to chant your rounds, even imperfectly, then eventually, by practice, you'll get better. We will get better as devotees, and we'll be preparing ourselves for the ultimate test, which is leaving the body. You have to practice every day. They have a saying that if you practice something, like I practiced the bass for many years, for whatever reason, at least 10,000 hours. I've practiced a lot. But, and I can play the bass a little bit, not bad. But the main thing is, if you practice every day what Krishna conscious discipline is, you'll be able to be prepared through that practice when you are leaving your body, because that's the ultimate test. And we had a recent experience in Yotapek with our friend Gopal. I used to encourage him when I've been traveling down there for the last year, and I used to encourage him every day, chant your rounds. He couldn't chant very much. He loved kirtan, by the way, Yaśodā-nandana. He did. We had one beautiful kirtan there with a bunch of devotees. There's quite a few devotees in Mexico. They're very pious people. And he had a very dynamic voice, really good singer. And I have to say this, when we chanted with my son and a few other devotees at the Casa Goloka, he was super enthusiastic to chant the holy name. Yes. And he chanted with a loud voice. It was beautiful. So this attraction to the holy name has to be something we cultivate every day. It's very important. Along with the 4 regulated principles: no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling, and no illicit sex. These are the principles, and Prabhupada explained this very nicely. These are the principles of freedom. Now, someone would say, well, that's an austerity. No, it's not. It's an austerity to be confused by the mind, entangled in material activity. That's an austerity. And people are suffering so much from material life. That's the nature of the material world. Know it for certain, there's no happiness in this world. Sage Prabhupada says to Maharaj Nimi, there is no happiness. And the misery of life is caused by our own actions, what we do or don't do. So discipline, everyone, is part of our daily practice. It's a daily practice. And if we keep practicing every day, then we can count on Krishna and Prabhupada's mercy. At the critical moment when we're called to leave this body, we'll be able to remember Krishna. And no matter how difficult it was. Think about Prabhupada, for example, everyone. Pirangelo, do you recall when Prabhupada left his body? It was terrible to see the condition that his body was in. It was really sad. In fact, I still can't look at the pictures. Well, you remember he got on the plane, he went to England. He wanted to go to America again and preach. And when he got to England, if you look, you see if they show him on the palanquin, they were carrying him and he had the sunglasses on. It was really sad. He looked very painful and very difficult. But you'll note that Prabhupada never complained about his condition, ever. He never complained. And even up to the last moments in Vrindavan, he demonstrated as a perfect yogi that he was not the body. He demonstrated it himself by his personal example how to leave the body and be completely detached from it. So he was a perfect Acharya. So this is the situation that we're in, that we have that test coming to us, but we can follow in the footsteps of our spiritual master, not by anybody else, please. By Prabhupada's perfect example, we can understand how to leave this material world fixed on Krishna. And I wanted to read a section from the Krishna book. As you know, all of you, Rochisha Devi Dasi, I've been constantly reading other things while we read our three main scriptures in our classes. I read the Nectar of Devotion. That was very interesting. We got so much nectar out of that, literally. And I hadn't read the Krishna book in a long time. And as I mentioned earlier, I got this present from a friend of mine. They got it at a bookstore in Niagara Falls. It's called, Niagara-on-the-Lake. She lives there. And she found this book in a bookstore. And it's a 1972 Krishna book. And I thought, it's time for me to read the pastimes of Krishna. And I found it's Prabhupada's purports and his explanation of our philosophy are amazing in this summary study of the 10th canto. Remember, Prabhupada wanted us to read the 10th canto, and he translated it before he did the Bhagavatams, so it was an opportunity to give us a chance to understand Krishna in case he left early from this world. In case he did. He didn't. Actually, he moved on. He got to the 10th canto in his work. So we were celebrating that. And we're going to go to the advent of Lord Krishna. There's another few sections here I wanted to refer to. This is called, this is on page 6, Rupa Goswami. There is no certainty how a living entity contacts a certain type of body. Just as there is no certainty how the blazing fire comes into contact with a certain type of wood in the forest. When there is a forest fire, it is experienced that the blazing fire sometimes leaps over one tree and catches another by the influence of the wind. That's very interesting, eh, Rachisha Devi Dasi? Very interesting, because what happened very recently in Los Angeles was exactly what happened when the forest fires were spreading throughout that region, unfortunately. Similarly, a living entity may be very careful and fearful in the matter of executing his duties, but it is still very difficult for him to know what type of body he is going to get in the next life. Very difficult to know. Sometimes people ask me that question, what do you think happened to Gopal? Well, the intricacies of action, Krishna explains, are very difficult to understand. Very difficult. Because of the complexity of them. How many actions you commit every day. And how much you experience in your whole life, action and reaction. But we can know one thing, that by the chanting of the holy name, you become exonerated by that mercy of Lord Chaitanya from those actions and reactions. Maharaj Bharat was very faithfully executing the duties of self-realization, but by chance, he contacted temporary affection for a deer, and he had to accept his next life in the body of a deer. It may seem that living in this body is also important. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at eternal time, a few years in one body to another body is not very much time. It's very quick. You move through this material body at a rapid pace. just like we all are. We think, oh, I'm not that old. Yes, we are. And I won't die very soon. Yes, you will. Because this is the nature of eternal time, the devourer of everything. We're going to move forward here a bit more. Let's see, I'll read one more section for us. This is on page 7, down in the middle page. For a great soul like Vāsadeva, there is nothing considered to be painful in the course of discharging one's duty. A learned person like Vāsadeva carries out his duties without hesitation. On the other hand, a demon like Kamsa never hesitates in committing any abominable action. It is said, therefore, a saintly person can tolerate all kinds of miserable conditions of life. A learned man can discharge his duties without awaiting favorable circumstances. A heinous person like Kamsa can act in any sinful way, and a devotee can sacrifice everything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's interesting to note that Prabhupada wrote this Krishna book with these explanations of our philosophy. And as I mentioned earlier, he demonstrated that during his final days with us on the planet. He demonstrated it practically. He was a perfect yogi. Be clear. You're looking for a spiritual guide. You're looking for enlightenment. When you come to the lotus feet of Śrīla Prabhupāda in his Vani incarnation, you found what you're looking for. Kamsa became satisfied by the actions of Vāsadeva. He was surprised to see Vāsadeva keeping his promise and becoming compassionate upon him. And pleased, he began to speak as follows: "My dear Vāsadeva, you need not present this child to me. I am not in danger from this child. I've heard that the 8th child born of you and Devaki will kill me. Why should I accept the child unnecessarily? You can take him back." When Vāsadeva was returning home with his firstborn child, although he was pleased by the behavior of Kamsa, he could not believe in him because he knew that Kamsa was uncontrolled. An atheistic person cannot be firm in his word of honor. Very interesting. One who cannot control the senses cannot be steady in his determination. So it's a qualification. The great politician Chanakya Pandit said, "Never put your trust in a diplomat or a woman. Those who are addicted to unrestricted sense gratification can never be truthful, nor can they be trusted with any faith." A very interesting point here. And we might want to consider that when we look at the current modern day politicians who are trying to rule the world by their nationalistic policies, but they can't be trusted because they cannot control their senses. Anybody that goes to McDonald's is obviously not in control of his senses. We're going to move forward with our reading and discussion from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, led by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu in Twain Harte, California, and he has a friend there, our friend, Vijaya Pandit, so there's 2 of them, but he's visiting, and it's been a great opportunity for both of them to be together, and it shows us that when you get association with devotees, it's inspiring. It can inspire each of us. So we thank all of you for coming to our regular weekly classes and following the sadhana program of chanting and hearing and offering your food with prasadam and making advancement in Krishna consciousness by your own personal determination and enthusiasm. So thank you very much. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada, Michael Dillon in California. And by the way, Yaśoda, the Forest Temple people, they're also in California. Because I'm not from there, I don't know the different regions, but they are also in California. We have a lot of devotees from there. That's a good thing. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasoda-nandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya सदस्य मान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam Narayanam namaskrityam Naram chaiva narottamam Naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1. To the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2. To the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3. To the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4. To Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the author, from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:2-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Today is a most auspicious day. It is the Vijaya appearance day, the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra. And on this day, we will read from the Bhagavatam and also a portion of a lecture from Śrīla Prabhupāda that he did in Hawaii in 1969 on the auspicious birthday of Lord Ramachandra. So we will proceed with the reading of the usual Sanskrit verses in a somewhat quick pace, and then go on to our Bhagavatam reading and then discussion of the verse from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Kindly post the verses on the screen. Yadanyudyasita yukta karmagranti nibandanam Chindanti kuvidastasya kuna kuryat kataratim. Next verse. Shushrushoho shradadhanasya vasudeva kataruchihi yan mahatsivaya vipra punyatirtha nishevanat srinvatam svakataha krishnaha Punyashravana kirtanaha hridyantasto yabadrani vidunoti suritsatam nashtaprayeshu babadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki tadarajastamo bhava Kamalo bhadayaschaye chetaye teranabiddam stitam sattve prasidati evam prasannamanaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Vidyate hridaya grantis, chidyante sarva samshayah, shiyante chasya karmani, drishtaevatmanishvari. Today we are reading from Canto 1, chapter number 6. I believe we're reading on text number 21.
31.
This reading is being conducted from the original 1962 Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by Śrīla Prabhupāda, all English synonyms, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement.
Prabhu, I think it's 31.
31? Okay. All right, you're
Thank
correct. I stand duly corrected. Antarbahi nalokam strin paryemi skandita vrataha anugrahan mahavishnor avigata gati kvachit antar in the transcendental world, bahis in the material world, cha and lokam planets, strin 3 divisions, paryemi travel, skandita unbroken, vrata vow, anugrahan by the causeless mercy, mahavishnor of the Mahavishnu, karanarvashayi Vishnu, avigyata without any restriction, gatihi entrance, kvachit at any time. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Since then, I do travel everywhere by the grace of the Almighty Vishnu, either in the transcendental world or in the 3 divisions of the material world without any restriction, because I'm fixed up unbroken in the devotional service of the Lord. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there are 3 divisions of the material spheres, namely the Urdhvaloka, topmost planets, Madhyaloka, midway planets, and the Adhaloka, downward planets. And beyond the Urdhvaloka planets, that is to say above the Brahmaloka, there is material coverings of the universes, and above that there is the spiritual sky, which is unlimited in expansion, containing unlimited self-illuminated Vaikuntha planets, resided by God Himself along with His associates, who are all eternally liberated living entities. Sri Nārada Muni could enter all the above-mentioned planets, both in the material and spiritual spheres, without any restriction, as much as the Almighty Lord is free to move personally in either part of His creation. In the material world, the living beings are influenced by either of the 3 material modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. But Sri Nārada Muni is transcendental to all these material modes, and as such, he can travel everywhere unrestricted. He is a liberated spaceman, causeless mercy of Lord Vishnu is unparalleled, and such mercy is perceived by the devotees only by the grace of the Lord. As such, the devotees never fall down, but the materialist, in other words, the fruitive workers and the speculative philosophers, do fall down, being forced by the respective modes of nature. The rishis, as above mentioned, cannot enter into the transcendental world like Nārada. This fact is disclosed in the Narasimha Purana. Rishis like Marichi are authorities of the fruited work, and rishis like Sanatana are authorities of the philosophical path of speculation. But Sri Nārada Muni is the prime authority for transcendental devotional service of the Lord. All the great authorities in the devotional service of the Lord follow the footprints of Nārada Muni in the order of Nārada Bhakti Sutra, and therefore all the devotees of the Lord are unhesitatingly qualified to enter into the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shwanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandana Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadana Strinam Danteridam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarabhata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Satkaromi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this description of the great, powerful Nārada Muni is very special, because upon achieving his liberation from the influence of the material energy, he received the boon from Lord Krishna that he could travel anywhere in the spiritual world and in the material world. Now, we do know from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam there are so many transcendental descriptions of Nārada Muni who can go anywhere at his own will. This is absolutely incredible, because in the material world on this planet, if we want to go from one place to the other, we have to take some kind of conveyance, either a vehicle, a boat, a train, walking, or if we want to go to another country, most of the time it's going to fly. But Nārada Muni can go from one planet to the other by special mystic power, not only in this world, but also in the spiritual world. Now, just behind my head here, there's the picture of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam covered by Śrīla Prabhupāda describes the planet Goloka Vrindavana, where Krishna resides. It also shows the Vaikuntha planets, where the expansions of Lord Narayana reside. That is the spiritual world. Nārada Muni can travel anywhere in the spiritual world and in the material world. And we know from the Krishna book, from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, that Nārada Muni many times comes in the pastimes of Lord Krishna and other pastimes to give special instructions, sometimes special benedictions, special warnings. This is the power of Nārada Muni. Now, what is especially significant here, Prabhupada describes in the purport, in the material world, the living beings are influenced by either of the three material modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. But Sri Nārada Muni is transcendental to all these material modes, and as such, he can travel everywhere unrestricted. He is a liberated spaceman, causeless mercy of Lord Vishnu, and is unparalleled, and such mercy is perceived by the devotees only by the grace of the Lord. Now, this is quite significant and may be a little difficult to understand for those who are not practicing and engaged in the path of Bhakti Yoga. But that is the power of those who are liberated from the influence of the material energy. Now, within our Krishna Consciousness movement, we had the good fortune of having the auspicious transcendental presence of His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupāda. Now, Prabhupada was very careful. Basically, Yasmin Mataji says, Nārada falls in Mount Rainier. Let me see this. This is good. Where's that? Nārada falls in Mount Rainier describes Nārada Muni. This is a place, I believe, in Washington State, Northwest United States. So the point is that Śrīla Prabhupada was a liberated soul, while Prabhupada was very careful not to try to display magical tricks and mystical tricks and yogic powers. He was empowered with these yoga opulences, these yoga mystic powers. And this is like one of the most famous stories about Śrīla Prabhupada was in New York in 1966, where the devotees had arranged a program so that Śrīla Prabhupada could perform a kirtan. So they rented a hall and they had the kirtan, but very few people showed up. So afterwards, the devotees expressed their disappointment to Śrīla Prabhupada that, we're sorry, Prabhupada, not so many people. And Prabhupada said, oh, no. Didn't you see? All the demigods came here. Nārada Muni, the demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Indra, they were all there. So devotees were somewhat stunned and mystified. And there was a similar incident also in Melbourne, Australia, when Prabhupada had a kirtan. And again, this was done at the university, and not so many people showed up. And Prabhupada made a similar comment. The point is that one who is a self-realized soul is in direct perception, direct contact 24 hours a day with Krishna and all the great transcendental personalities, both in the spiritual world and in the material world. Of course, this is inconceivable in our current stage, or what to speak of a person being able to fly from one planet to the other. I mean, Prabhupada describes in the Bhagavatam how certain demigods are endowed with this mystic power. Besides Nārada Muni, many demigods can travel from one planet to another. And we will see later on in the Bhagavatam, when we study in the 17th chapter, 18th chapter of the Bhagavatam, when Shukadeva Goswami came to greet Maharaj Parikshit, who had decided to fast for 7 days, what happened, excuse me, is that so many great personalities from the higher planets came and wanted to attend the meeting. Just like on this planet, they have different events, like what do they call in soccer or football, World Cup. In America, they have what they call the Super Bowl, and the World Series or the Stanley Cup. They have so many different events, or big events for musicians, or big musical events, sporting events, and so many great personalities in the mundane world will come to these events. But this event 5,000 years ago was a very special event, because the great rishis, great sages, great demigods, powerful personalities came to this planet from the higher planets because they wanted to attend the hearing, the recitation of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the most powerful transcendental literature, 18,000 verses, which describes the whole spiritual world, the material world, our position, and the activities of Krishna, the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. It is most auspicious transcendental literature. So this auspicious event, basically everybody in the universe wanted to attend. Just like we see in this world, so many celebrities and important personalities in the world, they try to attend these special events. They get special booths, special seating facilities, because it's a big event, a popular event. Similarly, this event 5,000 years ago was the most auspicious event. Very, very auspicious event. Why? Because a pure devotee, a self-realized soul, a completely liberated soul, Shukadeva Goswami, came to speak the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And this assembly of great sages and great liberated yogis and pure devotees was most auspicious. That is why we have the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam today, because these personalities spoke the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in disciplic succession. After that event in northern India, many of the great sages also assembled. 60,000 great sages assembled in the forest of Naimisharanya in northern India, considered a very important holy place, very special place. 60,000 great sages. And one of the great sages that heard the first description of the Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, he spoke to these 60,000 sages in the forest of Naimisharanya. This is very important, because the message, as he heard it, it's in the Bhagavatam itself, when this great sage who spoke to all the other 60,000 great sages and rishis, he mentions, Yataditam yatamiti. I will describe this Bhagavatam to you as I heard it and as I've realized it. In other words, we don't concoct our own interpretation of the activities of Krishna, the philosophies of Krishna. No, we just repeat and explain exactly as we heard it from the prior predecessor Acharya. In our case, that is His Divine Grace, Sri Śrīmad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, the foremost authority of Krishna consciousness in the world and the current Acharya of the Krishna consciousness movement. Let me mention why I use that term, current Acharya. In 1970, when devotees first published the Nectar of Devotion, they gave a copy of the first printed copy of the Nectar of Devotion to Śrīla Prabhupāda. And the first thing that happened, the binding fell apart. And then Prabhupada looked at the first page where his name was described and it's mentioned Acharya. It's either Acharya or founder. They didn't put the word founder-Acharya. Prabhupada said, no. Every time my name is there, you have to put founder-Acharya. Śrīla Prabhupada is not just the founder of ISKCON. He's the Acharya, the eternal Acharya of ISKCON. This is a very important point. This is also explained in a legal document that was given in 1974 that Prabhupada mentions, even after his death, his position shall never be occupied by any other disciple. There's a legal document like that. But why do we say that? Because people say, well, how can he be? He's not physically here. Well, he's physically here and not physically here. This is the power of a great Acharya like Śrīla Prabhupada, like Nārada Muni. Nārada Muni is constantly traveling. He goes somewhere, gives instruction, and then he's gone. He goes to the next place. Śrīla Prabhupada was constantly traveling. At his old age, 12 times around the world, constantly traveling, only sleeping 2 hours a day. Just the other day, we had an event here where a neighbor came over for prasadam. And we started to preach to this lady about Śrīla Prabhupada. And she was fascinated to hear that Prabhupada only slept 2 hours a day. And even when he slept, he never went deeply into the mode of ignorance. He was always conscious. We've personally experienced this. In 1977, at one point, I was given the great privilege to massage Prabhupada's feet at night. So sometimes Prabhupada seemingly would fall asleep. And then I would watch, and then his lips would keep moving. He would say Hare Krishna mantra, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Bhaja Hurimana, Jai Radha Madhava. He was constantly thinking of Krishna, and words would come from his mouth, even when he seemingly was asleep. Why? This is described in the Nectar of Devotion, that great transcendentalists are never under the influence of the material energy. They're always absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna when they're awake, when they're dreaming, and when they're sleeping, so-called sleeping. And then I presented the books. Prabhupada dictated these books, wrote these books at night. And Śrīla Prabhupada was an extraordinary personality that with all this travel in his advanced age, he was never influenced by the material energy. And this is one of the reasons, because somebody recently, oh, why is it that you and Vishwakarma criticize people in some other devotional societies? Why is it that you're reading from this Alamrita that you seem to be criticizing? No. Let's set the record straight here. So we have a clear understanding why we are explaining things about Śrīla Prabhupada and his position. Śrīla Prabhupada was not a mundane person of this world. He was not subject to the 4 defects of material existence like an ordinary conditioned soul. And when people describe the so-called life of Śrīla Prabhupada, now bear in mind that Prabhupada never authorized, there is no record of Śrīla Prabhupada authorizing any of his disciples to write a biography about him. I mean, Prabhupada many times complained that many of the disciples were still thinking that he was a mundane, material, ordinary human being. But when people describe as people at Prabhupada shaken, and he never knew if it was snow, and he was afraid, and he didn't want sure. He was, all of these mundane descriptions do not fit, are not appropriate for the description of a pure devotee, of a completely self-realized soul. Why do these things take place? Because people do not read his books carefully, or if they read the books, they read the wrong books. The adulterated books, the non-authorized interpolated books. And this is why it's so important to remember Śrīla Prabhupada's instruction. When Prabhupada said, you read the books, and he says, you must discuss everything from all angles of vision. Very important. Since Vijay Pandit has been here, we've spent several hours a day reading books and discussing everything from all angles of vision. And I'm gaining a lot of insight and experience from his very valuable association. Why? Because this is the purpose of hearing from Śrīla Prabhupada. Not that we become blind fanatics or crazy people or sahajiyas. We're not interested in sahajiya philosophy. Or like these people that claim that Prabhupada was just a worker for hire. Well, I've got news for you, folks. Prabhupada was not just a worker for hire. He was completely transcendental. If you've never understood who Śrīla Prabhupada was, do not publicly insult him. Do not publicly denigrate him. Do not publicly minimize him. Acharyam mam vijaniyam na avamanena karichit. In the 11th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Uddhava says, one should never minimize the position of the Acharya, that is, authorized Acharya, not a self-appointed Acharya or a voted-in Acharya, a bona fide self-appointed Acharya like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and our dear Śrīla Prabhupada. And that is why we take the time to read systematically portion of the so-called Lilamrita and explaining it from the perspective of Śrīla Prabhupada himself, directly, specifically from Prabhupada's own statements. You know, it's interesting in Toronto, Vishwakarma knows this story, how an Indian gentleman on a morning walk asked Śrīla Prabhupada, oh, we want to associate with you personally, this whole living physicality idea. Prabhupada, that is all right. If you want to know me, you read my books. If you carefully study Śrīla Prabhupada books, you will understand everything about Śrīla Prabhupada, where he was born, how he grew up, how he started his Ratha Yatra, how he met his spiritual master. You will understand everything, but you have to hear. You have to be willing to take the time to submissively hear. You know, when we were in Calcutta, in 1971-72, the temple on Albert Road had a very interesting architectural feature. Just above Śrīla Prabhupada's room, there was a large attic, and devotees in the afternoon would take rest. So someday, while we're resting there, we hear this sound. Prabhupada would walk. He came with his cane. So he's got this cane. We hear this thump on the stairs. And I got up, and all of a sudden I see Prabhupada standing right over me. It was like the sun coming right in front of you. For those of you who may not have been there physically during Prabhupada's time, there are times where Śrīla Prabhupada exhibit this mystic power, like self-effulgence. He came up the stairs and was like, whoa, I've offered my obeisance. Prabhupada says, no, you take rest. Take rest. After taking prasadam in the afternoon, you can take rest an hour up to an hour and a half, and then you get up. And Prabhupada, afterwards, take time to read my books. And after my obeisances again. The point is, Prabhupada wrote these books for the devotees to study. Like many times Prabhupada complained, I have not written these books just for selling and make money. I've written these books so you study them, you read them. And the reason there are problems in this movement is because people do not take the time to properly hear and study. First to read, and then to carefully study, and then to go into deep analytical, scrutinizingly study the books. Then we will understand who is Śrīla Prabhupada. And those unfortunate people who think that Prabhupada was shaken and he shuddered and he didn't do this and he forgot, well, you should read again and again, because then someday or some lifetime you may understand. Prabhupada is like Nārada Muni, completely unaffected by the modes of the material nature. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Well, we'll move forward with further discussion about Ram Navami in due course, as you mentioned. But I wanted to just briefly mention that the transcendental message of Lord Chaitanya and the information about the spiritual world from Śrīla Prabhupada is a gateway to the spiritual reality that exists, because there are two classes of men. There's the devotee and the demon. And the demons, the demoniac people, those who are infatuated with their own body and mind and their material aspirations, cannot understand Krishna consciousness. You have to be qualified, just like anything in life. For example, people used to come when I worked in the BMW. You had to qualify people that came there that they have the money to buy a $150,000 car. If they didn't, they were tire kickers. So qualification is a prerequisite for Krishna consciousness. You have to be qualified. And here we've gone over the different points again, so beautifully explained by Yaśodā-nandana, that one has to be eager to hear the philosophy. Yes, because it's a window, a gateway into the spiritual world. The study of the literature gives you insight that you can't get otherwise. For example, we're always being exposed to hearing things, especially media. The media is all pervasive these days through the internet, especially. Nowadays, newspapers aren't popular. You just open up your phone and you start to read and you get all kinds of information. Some of it may be true, some of it may not be true. We don't know. It's all programmed. But it gives us insight into the material world. But does it give us insight into the spiritual world? No, it doesn't. So Krishna consciousness, the insight that we need comes from association with other Krishna conscious people, those people who are focused on Prabhupada's teachings, because they get insight that other people don't have. It's like Prabhupada gave the example of a brochure on a travel from a travel agency. You're thinking, well, I want to go to Disneyland. Okay. And so many people in America, they go to Disneyland. Now, how do they know what Disneyland is about? Well, they get the brochure. They read it. They say, oh, yeah, Mickey Mouse is there. I think I'll go see him. That's a good idea. Maybe it'll save you at the time of death, eh? No. But you get the brochure, Michael. You read about it, you think, you become enticed. Oh yeah, I think I want to go to Disneyland. So in the same way, if we read Prabhupada's books, we're seeing as we study every week so beautifully this information, we get an insight on what the reality of life is beyond our material conceptions, above, and it's very important to note, above the modes of material nature. Because we're under the influence of those modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And they infatuate the conditioned soul to think that we are the body, that we will live on for eternity, and that we will be happy by enjoying material sense gratification. This is called Maya. I want to go to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, the contents of the Gita summarized, and refer to this section. The Vedas, I'll move quickly because we have so many topics to go over. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Here, Krishna is instructing Arjuna, rise above these modes, O Arjuna. Be transcendental to all of them. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. All material activities involve actions and reactions in the three modes of material nature. They are meant for fruitive results which cause bondage in the material world. The Vedas deal mostly with fruitive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane, above the material body, material desire. Arjuna, as a student and friend of Lord Krishna, is advised to raise himself to the transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where in the beginning there is Brahma Gyan, or questions on the supreme transcendence. All living entities are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. It's a window of liberation. When the activities of sense gratification, namely the karma kanda chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads, which are different parts of the Vedas, as the Bhagavad Gita is part of the fifth Veda, namely the Mahabharata. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. Two types of life, material life and spiritual life. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities becomes free from anxieties regarding gain and loss, like the stock market yesterday. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the goodwill of Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is a science, a very specific science of how to get free from the material world and transcend it, even while you're in Krishna Katha, the confines of this material body. Yes, it is possible, but it is only possible with great determination and great effort on the part of the individual. That you can live free from the bondage of material life while you exist in this material body. And this is possible by the mercy of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. We're going to move forward with this section from the review of the unauthorized biography of Śrīla Prabhupāda, also known as the Līlamrita, by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from Twain Harte, California. Hare Krishna. Yaśoda, please.
I think the proper term would be as disgrace, but I appreciate your kind tolerance
Disgrace.
of my lowly self. As we've done every week, every time we hold the class, we've been studying this Līlamrita and putting Śrīla Prabhupāda's statements in context. Today we'll be reading from the section number 2 of the Līlamrita review on page number 3. Prabhupada explains Paramahamsa as the highest perfection stage of life beyond attachment and renunciation. Maybe you have to look at section number 2, page number 3. Okay, here we go. Okay, this was in a relationship with a statement from the Līlamrita. Abai spent his time in Jhargram, chanting the holy name and becoming settled in detachment from his family. Prabhupada explains in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, canto 4, chapter 4, text number 20, a sannyasi cannot act like a householder, nor can a householder act like a sannyasi. But above these two kinds of persons, one who engages in material activities and one who renounces, there is a person who is transcendental to both. He is in the Paramamsa stage, the highest perfectional stage of life. For a person who has attained this stage, neither the Vedic activities for realizing material enjoyment, nor those for renunciation are applicable. Was Śrīla Prabhupada in awe of his teachers? The pure devotee is callous to instructions of demons and non-devotees. The Līlamrita says that His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda felt mundane awe, admiration, and tension towards in relation to karmis. Līlamrita, book number 1, page 24. But to Abai, Calcutta and the British were not alarming, and he even held a certain fondness for his Scottish teachers. Although he looked up to them with a mixture of awe, distance, and some tension, he admired their moral uprightness and their gentlemanly, courteous behavior with the boys. From Līlamrita, book 1, page 24. Webster's dictionary defines awe as fearful veneration inspired by something sacred. The Shastra, however, tells us that the pure devotee never has a high regard for atheistic teachers, no matter what their so-called good qualities are. Śrīla Prabhupada explains from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, canto 7, chapter 8, text number 5. A devotee does not care for the instructions of the asuras. When they give instructions, he remains silent. A devotee cares about the instructions of Krishna, not those of demons or non-devotees. He does not give any respect to a demon, even though the demon be his father. According to Shastra, neither does the pure devotee like Śrīla Prabhupada make bodily distinctions, which are always based on ephemeral high and low position. Now, because today is the birthday of Sri Ramachandra, I will read a few excerpts from a lecture from Śrīla Prabhupada in 1969. This is, let me get the exact date here. This is Lord Ramachandra's appearance on March 27, 1969 in Hawaii. March 27, 1969. Prabhupada chants the Mangala Charana prayer in quotes, Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamanatishtan, Nana Vataramakad Bhuvanishu Kintu, Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pumanyo, Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. But from the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, text 39. This is a verse from Brahma Samhita, in which the incarnation of Lord Ramachandra is described. Ramadi, not only Rama, but there are many other innumerable incarnations. They are compared with the waves of a river. As the waves of the river or the waves of the ocean cannot be counted, similarly, how many incarnations are there of the Supreme Lord? It is not possible to count. But out of them, the principal names are mentioned in the Shastras. Therefore, it is said Ramadi. Ramadi means Rama and all other many incarnations, and they are existing. Not that one incarnation appeared and it is finished. No, not like that. Just like Lord Ramachandra appeared on this planet, say millions of years before, he appeared in the Treta Yuga. Treta Yuga means we have passed only 5,000 years of this age, Kali Yuga. Before that, there was Dwapara Yuga. Dwapara Yuga means 800,000 years. And before that, there was Treta Yuga, which continued for 1,200,000 years. That means at least 2 million years before Lord Ramachandra appeared on this planet. So now, Lord Ramachandra appeared in Ayodhya. There is a place in Ayodhya in northern India. There he appeared. As Krishna appeared in Mathura, that is also northern India. And Mathura is about 90 miles down southward from New Delhi. You have heard the name of New Delhi, the capital of India. So Ayodhya is also situated about 500 miles northeast of New Delhi. So Lord Ramachandra appeared on this day. Today is called Ram Navami. On the 9th day of the moon, Lord Ramachandra appeared. His father was the king of Ayodhya, and he had 3 wives. So he had 2 wives. So out of 2 wives, he got 4 sons. Ramachandra is the eldest son. The life and activities of Lord Ramachandra is in a book which is called Ramayana. You have heard the name of Ramayana. Ramayana is also accepted as history. Vedic literatures are histories also. The Puranas, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Mahabharata, and Ramayana, they are counted amongst the history. The history of Ramachandra, his father wanted to retire. Dasharatha, Maharaja Dasharatha, and he decided to enthrone Lord Ramachandra and retire. So everything was settled. But just one day before, his youngest wife turned the whole thing into a different way. Sometimes Maharaj Dasharatha was suffering from what is called whitlow, some trouble in the finger. And this queen served him very nicely, and he was pleased. And he said, "My dear Sharmishta, if you want some benediction from me, I can give you." And she replied that, "I shall ask you for the benediction when I require it, not now." So just one day before Lord Ramachandra's coronation, she approached her husband, Maharaj Dasharatha, and reminded him, "My dear husband, you promised to give me some benediction, and I told you that I shall ask you when I require it." Maharaj Dasharatha said, "Yes, I remember. You want some benediction just now?" She said, "Yes." "And what is that?" She says, "Ramachandra cannot be seated on the throne. My son should be coronated, Bharata." He was surprised. It is a big demand. So he said, "All right, that will be done, your son." Because formerly the kings, not only formerly, even up to date, there are many Kshatriya kings in India. They have more than one wife. And there is rivalry between different wives. So the same thing, human psychology is the same. Even 2 million years ago, the same mentality was there. And she asked that my son should be the king, not Ramachandra. Ramachandra appeared to be the son of Kaushalya, the elder queen. So Maharaj Dasharatha agreed and called for Ramachandra. "My dear boy," she asked also that she was very diplomatic. She wanted that Ramachandra go to the forest for 14 years. The idea was political, that the king may agree to install my son just now. Now, after a few days, this Ramachandra may come with his army, and there may be some difficulty to continue the kingdom. So she wanted that Ramachandra should go to the forest and he should not come back till the end of 14 years from this day. So Maharaj Dasharatha agreed because he was Kshatriya. Just see the promise. A Kshatriya never goes back from the promise, never refuses any challenge. If a Kshatriya is challenged by somebody that I want to fight with you, oh, he cannot refuse. That is Kshatriya spirit. He cannot say that I am now busy. Suppose somebody comes to you that I want to fight with you. You may say, well, what nonsense fight? I have no time. We are in a temple. But a Kshatriya cannot deny that. A Kshatriya once must accept, oh yes, come on. And the weapon should be, if he has no sword or weapon, he should be supplied weapon and fight. This is Kshatriya spirit. They were highly charitable and chivalrous in keeping promise and with a great tendency for ruling over. They shall rule over administrators, their business. So anyway, these are a few excerpts from Prabhupada's lecture. We'll go back in the studio with Vishwakarma and we'll go on with the program. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Very informative information for all of us by association with other devotees, because this is the boon of Krishna consciousness, that we get association with like-minded persons. This is something very important for all of us to remember. Association is like a crystal stone. Whatever you come in contact with it, you'll reflect it. So, association, this is something that we're devoid of. Many of us, we don't have much association. Many of us are isolated in a circumstance by some particular arrangement of karma. But this opportunity to associate with each other in these classes is a great opportunity to remind us of the purpose of human life. Yes, a very, very valuable opportunity. And we all treasure it very much. And I wanted to remind everybody that we have 3 classes a week: Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And these 3 classes concentrate on the 3 main scriptures that Śrīla Prabhupāda gave us: the Gita, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, which are the wealth of our sampradaya. It's a very wonderful opportunity. I wanted to ask Mother Yasmin Virani, do you have any comments you'd like to make today on today's program? Are you able to contact or connect with a microphone? Yasmin.
Hello.
Yes,
I
Haribol.
appreciate the
Haribol.
opportunity. Haribol, I appreciate the opportunity to participate in the class, mostly because I'm traveling and just getting back to Canada in a few days. But I'm at different time zones all the time, so I'm sorry if I'm not being consistent, but I do enjoy it when I do get a chance.
Okay, any questions or comments that you wanted to make on the subject matter today? Thank you, by the way, for attending. We appreciate it. And your support. We really appreciate it. Go ahead, please.
No, I like the subject matter, and I like the classes, and I like to listen to it over again. Yeah, I like to see the classes basically being more like focused on the reading and on Prabhupada's words and his teachings. It reminds us of wanting to go back and read. I know I have the same Krishna book that you just got, so I just thought about it. I actually stole it from a library. I didn't literally steal it, but I told them that I couldn't find it and I want to pay for it. So I paid for it.
That's terrific.
But I wanted to keep it because it was the original 1972 version of it.
Yes, absolutely. Very valuable. And by the way, I wanted to comment that, when you start something, like we started these classes a few years ago, we've gone through different transitions It's you live and learn, as they say in life, whether it's whatever you do, whether it's business or the arts or presentation. And we're focusing now specifically on the nectar, because there's a lot of groups that's their main focus, to talk about. It's like National Enquirer. They want to specifically target this person or that. That's not important for us. Our main thing is the nectar of Prabhupada's teachings, and we're qualified to do that. We are. We've got a lot of experience. Pardon? Please, go ahead.
To some extent, it is important because, for example, I know I've been eyeing that Leela Martha, and I know that it's not original, and I somehow not wanted to buy it, and now I know why. So I'm glad that you're going to the originals and you're teaching us that what to look for and what not to look for.
Excellent. And by the way, we're going to publish this. We have a series of books that we're working on. We've got a guide to self-realization, the complete study guide to self-realization, which is based on our experience that when we first joined the movement, we had no background. Yourself and some other people have background, but a lot of people from the West have no background into the Vedic teachings. So when we joined, all we had was the Bhagavad Gita, the blue one. And we had no background about anything else, but somehow or other we still became devotees. Who knows? That mercy that came to us. But this guide to self-realization will talk about the Dhammas, all the different places where Krishna had his pastimes, because people don't know what is Vrindavan, what is Mayapur Navadvip, what is Kurukshetra, what is Dwarka. They don't know these places. And also, pardon, go ahead, please.
That's right. I agree with you.
Okay. And we're doing that. It's a very detailed study, and we're going to publish that. We're going to publish this review as well with our group. And we're going to look at publishing a version of Easy Journey to Other Planets, the 1959 version, which is very enlightening. And it was very relevant when I went to Mexico to see my friend pass away, Gopal. And when on the plane, I read Easy Journey to Other Planets, and it was a perfect book for him to hear at his last moments of life on this journey that we're all on, how to go back home, back to Godhead. That is the purpose of this. It's not political. It is transcendental. And we appreciate your participation. Pierangelo in Switzerland. Now, Pierangelo, very interestingly, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, he speaks 4 languages. He speaks Italian, he speaks German, he speaks Francais, and he speaks English. And we'd like him to make a comment today on today's program. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Glories to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, thank you to give me the opportunity to share with you. Yeah, somebody sent on WhatsApp a nice video about the 50 years of the mandir of Vrindavan, and there was a nice interviews of Guru Kripa, and I learned many wonderful. Activities that Guru Kripa with Yaśodā-nandana had with Prabhupada. I was listening very carefully. Very nice, incredible, yeah. And at that time I was just distributing books, and I think, I was just distributing books, and Guru Kripa was creating temples and taking so much money, and I was comparing myself, right? But everybody's doing at his own level the best thing he can do. I don't have to feel guilty because I'm not Guru Kripa. That's. But it's very nice video. Everybody should see. 50 years of the Krishna Radha Krishna temple in Vrindavan, yeah. So about today, about I'm not this body. But I'm not this body. Trying always to find a nice nest. With I got a daughter. She's 11. A nice wife. I'm retraite maintenant. I'm no live. Don't work anymore. So I got some income. I don't have to work. I read Krishna books every day, Prabhupada books every day. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And what's happened just a few years ago, I had a tumor, a cancer. So all this very nice, beautiful arrangement, spiritual arrangement, offering food and things. Yeah, just a reality came back, that, get old, get sick and die, that's, even if it's spiritually based, all this, chant Hare Krishna, reading books and offering prasadam, listening to classes, everything is very, the most I can, Krishna oriented, but still life is, like your friend, right? Like your friend who left last week. So we have to be ready to go. I have a friend said he's 70. I say, well, how are you? Okay, what you do? I prepare myself pour le trépas, trespass. We say like that? To die?
Yes.
The trespass. And I say, oh yeah, he's completely right. His main activity is just to get ready to get right off of the the dust, and connect with Prabhupada the most possible. So that's it. That's what I'm able to share.
Okay, excellent, and thank you very much. I wish you all the best. I also, and myself and Yaśodā are also victims of cancer. I had urinary bladder cancer, and I had 5 operations some years ago, and somehow or other it revitalized me. And nowadays, I'm up and running in the preaching work that we're doing, the publishing. We're expanding. Age is a matter of the body deteriorating, but the mind, the intelligence, the ego, if you can dovetail them in Krishna's service, then you can get the highest benefit with the human form of life. So it's a question of intelligence, taking this process with a great deal of seriousness and a sense of opportunity, that this is an opportunity for us to do well. And you live in a very interesting country, I must say. I've been looking about it, and it's somewhat of a very prosperous type of life there. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare
All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. I wanted to ask our friend...
one last thing, very short.
Go ahead, please.
One day Prabhupada was cutting vegetables, and he cut his finger. So some blood came out. And I think it was in Geneva, but I'm not sure. And they would, oh my God, Prabhupada, what's happened? Blood, what do we do? I said, relax. I mean, I said the story in my way. Relax. This is nothing. If I should have received the real karma for my past action, I should have cut my arm, something like that. I should have suffered much more. So this I remember sometime, when I was now it's getting better, but when I was in my worst days with the cancer, I was thinking, okay, you may complain but about the situation, but remember Prabhupada, what said Prabhupada, just it's a grace of Krishna that I'm still going through this and this protecting me. It's not I'm not suffering completely, but I should have suffered. That's why. And Prabhupada helped me a lot about going through this difficult periods, by this example, remembering that Krishna doesn't want to punish me. He wants just to make me, like you said, just go more focus on the service. Thank you.
Yes, true. It's true that the punishment that we get for our sinful activities can be minimized by our devotional activities. And a devotee always accepts his distress as minimized by God's mercy, although he would have to suffer many more times the suffering. That's a very good point there. So correspondence there. If maybe someone, whoever displayed that, could you read it for us? I can't see it.
Sure.
It's so small.
Sure, Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
sure,
ahead.
Prabhuji.
Please,
It's a
please read it.
correspondence in 1968. A devotee always accepts his distress as minimized by God's mercy, although he would have suffered. He would have to suffer many more times the suffering. Anyone who accepts this philosophy of God's mercy in suffering conditions and still makes progress in Krishna consciousness, it is said that he is sure to go back to home, back to Godhead. This was a letter to Guru Das, Los Angeles, February 13, 1968. I have received also one letter from Upendra today, and I am so glad he's released within 10 days. That was my expectation when he came to see me, that he couldn't be incarcerated for more than a week. This instance of suffering by a devotee should be carefully noted. As Upendra was in the beginning incarcerated for 3 months, it was reduced to 1 week. Similarly, when a devotee is seen in trouble, it should be accepted as God's mercy. Just like Upendra's suffering for 3 months was destined by the law, but by the mercy of God, the suffering is reduced to 1 week only. So a devotee always accepts his distress as minimized by God's mercy, although he would have to suffer many more times the suffering. Anyone who accepts this philosophy of God's mercy in suffering condition and still makes progress in Krishna consciousness, it is said that he is sure to go back home, back to Godhead. I'll stop here.
Very good point. I'm going to ask Vijaya Pandit to speak for a minute, but I wanted to tell the story, interesting, Nilesh Sharma. What happened to us? We were on a bus. I had a blue bus, and we were traveling down to the States from the Toronto temple, distributing books and collecting funds for the support of the Toronto temple. And we were in Kentucky at the, what's the famous race there? The Kentucky Derby. And, you know, we were there and we were distributing books, and we were wearing a disguise because it was against the law back then. And guess what happened? We got arrested. The three of us got arrested, and we were taken to jail in Kentucky. I remember being in the jail quite vividly, and there was a lot of people there, blacks, whites, etc. But some of the people were looking at us in a rather negative way because we had our heads shaved and we looked different, very different. And so they kept us in jail. We stayed there all night. And the next day, we went in front of the judge. It brought us right up in front of the judge. And I thought, oh my God, we're going to be in trouble here. We're down here from Canada. Nowadays, it's of course a lot more difficult for Canadians to go to America, but back then it was very friendly. And the judge asked us where we were from. And I got up in front of the judge and I said, we're from Canada. And I explained what we were doing. And you know what he did, Yaśodā? He said, okay, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get in your bus and you're going to take your truck and you're going to get out of town and don't come back. And we left. So we got minimized. We didn't get incarcerated more than one day. And we were let free to carry on with our work as we traveled down through the southern states to Birmingham, Alabama. So lots of pastimes from there. And our punishment was minimized by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Vijaya Pandit, I wanted you to share a few points with your visit with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu in Twain Harte, California. Are you near a microphone there, Prabhu?
He went in the other room for something.
Okay,
He went in the other room. He's not available.
Okay, so Yaśodā, any last comment for us?
We had an interesting event one time in 1973 where we were in the border between Texas and Oklahoma. And devotees were distributing sticks of incense and little books, and we got arrested by the police. Now, some of these police in Texas and Oklahoma are literally giants. I mean, some of them are 6'5", 6'6" football players. And they had never seen anything like us with shaven head. And they're looking at the literature and the incense like, where are you people from?
Yeah.
So they arrested us, brought us to the station, and chief of police looked at us like he had the same reaction, like, where are you people from? And we told him, we're from a temple in Los Angeles. A temple? What temple is that? So we had a discussion with him. And basically, he looked at us, looked at our ID, says, look, I'm not going to get to an issue with you. I could easily arrest you and put you away. What you're going to do is you're going to go back in your van and you're going to get out of here. And he gave us the same answer. Don't come back. You get out of here and then you go and I'll let you go. So that was basically the same reaction we had. But they were like totally stunned to look at the devotee and trying to figure out, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh, Vijay Pandit came back. Maybe you can get a few comments from him.
Okay, Vijay Pandit, how are you enjoying your visit to Twain Harte from Italy? Go ahead. Have you got a microphone there?
All right. Thank you. What I can say, one thing is very important in life. To meet the right persons, the right people, that they inspire you to find the way to go back to Godhead.
Yeah.
And the association of devotees is very important. The association of devotees, of real devotees, are very important. Not any devotee. That devotee that brings you to the lotus feet of Śrīla Prabhupāda. These are real devotees, without attachments of the results. And this feeling I'm facing here together in association with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. And he is really a Prabhupada man in the real words. He is completely dedicated in serving Śrīla Prabhupada without any how to say, selfish, recognizing himself as a disciple of Śrīla Prabhupada. I mean, he is giving to everybody, and is getting from Śrīla Prabhupada back. And this I feel it in this association. This is what I want to say. So it's important to have the right association. So
yes.
I hope that everybody.
Well, I want to further explain, Krishna Katha, that somehow or other, I've known Yaśodā-nandana. I'm not going to embarrass him, so we apologize, Prabhu. I'm just going to speak the fact that, years ago, Krishna Katha, I was kind of on my, not kind of, I was on my own. I had tried this and that and other things over the duration of my life. And, I somehow or other fell into association with Yaśodā. Hey, Prabhu, it was just circumstantial. And I thought this is a good chance for us for me to get some good association with somebody like him who had his history of service and was committed to Śrīla Prabhupāda, which is something I wanted. And it's been a great journey for us to be involved with each other and the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association. And we're going to keep going, marching forward with our projects. We have a lot of great projects, everyone. We do. We're not
Prabhuji,
mentioning
I have a
them right
question.
now. Pardon?
I have a question for Vijay Prabhu.
Okay, after just a minute. So it is a great, it's a great boon for all of us, and I hope that everybody appreciates it. Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. You have a question, ask him.
Vijay Prabhu, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
In the class, we always talk about importance of Vapu over Vani, but you have the pleasure of having Vapu of Yasoda-nandana Prabhu, and it seems like the Vapu seems to be overwhelmingly pleasant for you than Vani. So can you please opine on that as to how we should take it for those who just are exposed to the Vani of Yasoda-nandana Prabhu?
I don't know if his mic's on. Vijay Pandit, is your mic on? Did you follow that question?
Prabhuji, can
Yes,
you
okay,
repeat?
question.
You are muted.
Very good question. I understood. And the answer is that the association with Yasoda-nandana Prabhu brings you completely
to the Vani of His
to the
Divine Grace
Vani
Śrīla
of
Prabhupāda.
His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda.
It's an exchange. And of
And of
course,
course,
the
the
Vapu,
Vapu,
the
the association with
Yasoda-nandana
Yasoda-nandana
Prabhu,
Prabhu,
that
that
simply
simply transmits you the pure Vani of a pure devotee. This is the answer that I can give you. So it's not
Okay.
of course the physical association with the devotees is important because they are here. It's not they are not existing in this world. So otherwise I could stay in Italy because the Vani association is enough, but these devotees are existing still in body here physically. So to get their association, to listen to them, what they have to tell us about Śrīla Prabhupada. This is very important.
Yeah, I'm going to further answer to you,
Sorry.
Nilesh Prabhu. The Vapu Association of Śrīla Prabhupada was a very valuable experience for all of us that had it. And it can't be minimized at all. It's actually a great blessing. And the pastimes that we share with other people in regards to this are an opportunity for all of us to understand Prabhupada's personal behavior and activities while he was with us. So both are important. But more important, Prabhupada stressed this fact that Vani is more important than Vapu, because the Vapu can lead to offenses. You can commit offenses due to familiarity of association, like what's happened with the translation or the creation of the unauthorized biography, where people misunderstand Prabhupada and then they write things which can mislead people, and it's terrible. So Vapu is very valuable for us to, some of us got Prabhupada's orts, his prasadam, his leftovers, on multiple occasions. Is it a blessing? Yeah, it's a great blessing for us, but at the same time, we shouldn't be infatuated, oh, I have this or that. We should just simply stay humble, and all of us share in the opportunity to remember Śrīla Prabhupada and his pastimes in our association as a group. So this is a group effort, and we humbly carry on with the service of Śrīla Prabhupada in our mission to please him with everything that we do. And this is documented for everyone in the future. It's not just for us. Because in the future, providing the internet still exists, then this information will be shared with future generations of people who never got a chance to associate with Prabhupada, but they get a chance to associate with his disciples who have some personal association with him and share that information with everyone. And in this way, we can feel connected to Śrīla Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. We're going to move forward, Ram Raghava, with the chanting of Hare Krishna, 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Join in on the Kirtan, and we'll see you again on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the reading and discussion of Chaitanya Charitamrita with the original, unadulterated, unchanged books of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Hare Krishna, Prabhus. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everyone for participating in this lively program of reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Thank Vishwakarma Prabhu in Hamilton, Ontario, Pierre Angelo in Switzerland, Vijay Pandit in Twin Heart, California, Krishna Kata in Alpine, California, Neil Sharma Prabhu in Florida with the beautiful Prabhupada Didi in the picture, very nice. Rochi Samataji in the Laurentides de la Province de Quebec, Michael Dillon, Yuba City, California, and the one and only Ram Raghava Prabhu in Brighton, Georgia, and not to miss the Forest Temple Prabhus in Montague, You have a beautiful picture there. I wish that I would know where you are in California, but I'm sure eventually I will find out. Bhaktivedanta in Germany, and everybody participating in this program. We invite all of you to come back on Wednesday evening at 5:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, everyone, for participating for this lively discussion. And just to mention, according to the Mayapur calendar, the Ekadasi will be observed on Tuesday. Today is the 6th. It'll be observed on the 8th. Tomorrow, I'll be driving all day. I have to drive Vijay Pandit to the San Francisco airport. There's going to be a lot of lively discussion, a lot of chanting from Twin Heart to San Francisco. Kindly give us your blessings so we don't hit too much traffic. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.